And right now, Professor Karol Sikora joins us. He's medical director of the Rutherford Cancer Centres. Very nice to speak to you. Long time no speak, Karol. Oh, you're there.
Julia.
Oh, well, hello there. We got you there. It's been a very long time. To get you on today to talk about those doctor strikes. 5 days of strikes. We're expecting a lot more over the next 6 months. But one of the sort of rules during strikes is that if there is an emergency, say there was a major terror attack or a terrible disaster, the doctors would abandon the strike and they would go to save lives. And I think we would all understand and expect that. But the NHS has accused the British Medical Association, the resident doctors union, of risking patient safety. They said they've refused emergency requests to allow striking doctors to cross picket lines and return to work. The 5-day resident doctor strike began on Friday morning, and they said the BMA has rejected 18 requests from NHS hospitals for doctors to break the strike to stop patients coming to harm, and that includes some cancer care as well. What do you make of that?
I think it's terribly sad. I think they've dug a hole. Both sides over the last week have dug a big hole for themselves. It looked good a week ago before it started. I thought it had been resolved before Friday morning, but clearly it wasn't. And what's really happened now is the BMA, whoever it represents, I'm not a member, so you can't blame me, has dug itself in with this incredible position where they're not even allowing the derogation, which is the allowing doctors to come in if the hospital says, look, it's a bit urgent here, could we get someone to come in? I mean, it's all judgmental. What's counted as urgent? Anybody that's ill wants to be seen as quickly as possible. And we don't always get that out of the NHS. As you know, getting a GP appointment is like getting gold dust at the moment. So I think the strike is really dug in now. It's going to go on till Christmas. I can't see any other option.
Well, no, especially with their demand. I mean, they're talking about 29%. They're based on increase in pay, basing their claims that they've lost that much since, I think, 2008 is the date they give, which was, as has been pointed out many times, based on one inflationary scale, but also a particularly exceptional year when they were getting exceptional payments that were a highly unusual year in terms of what they were earning then, and they'll know that. But we've also seen the problem that, you know, the doctors are hunkering down, even though actually I think only a third of all doctors working as resident doctors actually voted for the strike in total, because there are many who aren't members of the BMA. But we've now got the nurses union, the RCN, basically saying, well, you know, we don't think we're going to accept our payoff, which is, of course, a tiny, tiny fraction of that, just over inflation levels now, because we accepted that last time round. The doctors got a 22% pay rise and then a 4.5% pay rise. Why should we be settling for single figures when they're getting double figures?
You're right. The whole system's shaken, and we're going to see the nurses go on strike almost certainly. How they do it, how they deal with emergency care, I'm not sure. The whole system is under pressure. I think part of the problem for the doctors, you know, I've been a junior doctor once, we all have, and it was fun then. And we supported the whole thing. And, you know, we were dedicated. These guys are still fine. You know, they love it when they come out of medical school, Julia. I mean, it's just fantastic. They feel great. Their families feel great. They've done really well. It's a challenge to get into medical school. Once you're in, you're okay. Most people, once they get selected to go in, qualify. Very few % don't make it. So what's the problem when you get you know what's going to happen, you know what the salary is, you know everything. I think the BMA have been taken over by some pretty unusual people, and they've persuaded the young doctors to go down this almost war with...
Well, they've been taken over by the far left. I mean, that's the reality. It's the same as the National Education Union for teachers. They're not there representing the best interests of teachers or the BMA representing the best interests of doctors. They are a far left organisation. I mean, they wanted to take down a Tory government. Now they want to, you know, take on this government. But isn't one of the issues that the government has brought a lot of this on themselves? Because Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, and Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, when they were in opposition, they were saying, look, you know, if only the Health Secretary and the PM would come to the table, talk to the BMA, have a conversation, we can resolve this. We can resolve this really quickly. And within weeks of getting into power, in last July, no, absolutely, they resolved it. But they resolved it, as they did with the train driver strike, by throwing huge sums of money and basically giving them everything they asked, and then saying, right, all settle, it all go away. within one day, they said we're going to be coming back for more. And all the other public sector unions are going, hold on a minute, how come the doctors got that much and we didn't? I mean, you could have predicted every single minute of this strike.
I think the only way to deal with the situation long term is to make a strike-free NHS. You have to sign up not to strike, just as you do in the police or the military.
And would that be reasonable?
It's not unreasonable to do that.
You think that would be a reasonable request?
I think it could be introduced. I think people would take it. And, this business, what constitutes an emergency? And I'm an oncologist, I do cancer. So some of the times the BMA turned down the doctor going forward saying, look, it's the hospital said it's an emergency to get these biopsies done on a prostate patient at Milton Keynes, it was last week. And the BMA said, no, it's not urgent, it's routine.
It doesn't have to be done in the next 5 days. Yeah,
exactly. It's not routine. If someone's got cancer, they need to know as quickly as possible so you get on with treatment. The target is 62 days for diagnosis to treatment already, and that's ridiculous. I mean, in Poland, it's 7 days, but that's the NHS target. So let's stick with that. And
by the way, not always met.
Exactly. And so you're just delaying it further. And imagine the psychological problem someone has, knowing they may well have cancer, and you're just waiting because these people are on strike.
And we also know that problem happens all the time, even incompetent local hospitals or doctors. I mean, what is extraordinary is that that's for you to get the results before you then see a consultant, before you can then start treatment. And we know that virtually, I think it's every 2 weeks that you wait, your chances of dying go up.
Exactly. And I think what we have to do is to get everybody back to the table. But it's so far apart now, both sides. And the music coming out of Wes Streeting is not as it was just 1 week ago. It's pretty pugilistic, I would say. He's fed up with it. And
but I
not
can
just
understand
him, but
why.
the negotiators.
But again, if you just give them everything they want, don't be surprised when they think, hey, maybe that worked last time, it'll work again. Karol Sikora, always so good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Tom Slater, I mean, Labour just brought this on themselves, didn't they?
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, anyone could see this coming. And what I'm more surprised by is the fact that the BMA can't read the room at this point. Any kind of sympathy for them, even just in the public at large, but even you kind of detect within the NHS has sort of evaporated for them. Either it's kind of doctors of an older vintage who don't really understand how willing they are to take this kind of measure given the effect it will have, but also nurses, porters, other people who are thinking, you know what, you've done all right out of this so far, and yet to keep pushing.
They're the ones who've done 7 years of training to even get to the point of being a resident doctor. I don't have an issue with doctors being paid well. I don't. I'm sorry. I think the doctors should be paid well.
You've got to read the room, though, especially when you're in a public sector.
Absolutely.
Not least one that's so racked with problems at the moment.
Absolutely. And maybe again, Wes Streeting should have required extra shifts or extra work for doing this. I mean, doctors largely have been doing less and less work for higher pay over the last 20, 30 years, whether it's GPs or resident doctors or others.